Hello and happy Sunday morning. I am back continuing our NFL preview series. The NFL season kicks off on Thursday, September 5th. And until then, we are previewing each and every team. Today, I move on to the number three finishers from last year in the AFC West, and that is the Denver Broncos. And you know what? Believe me, I thought about skipping this one, but it's my commitment to completionism that gets us through. Last offseason was a disaster for the Broncos. They had a terrible 2022 season, but they swung for the fences, acquiring Sean Payton to be the team's head coach. He was supposed to come in and turn around the flagging franchise, rehab starting quarterback Russell Wilson. Instead, the Broncos started slow, rallied for a while, then flamed out. Wilson ended the season being benched by the Broncos and ended the season for the team below 500 and out of the playoffs again. The team is truly starting over with Peyton again, heading into 2024. The Broncos haven't made the playoffs since Peyton Manning and Von Miller led the team to Super Bowl 50 crown. Will that drought continue, or can he build this team back up in a hurry? Let's dive in and talk about the 2024 Broncos. On to the offseason changes. To no one's surprise, the Broncos parted ways with Wilson this offseason. The team made an enormous cap hit to do it, and one that will impact the team's salary cap for 2 seasons. The Broncos also parted ways with defensive star Justin Simmons and saw starting linebacker Josie Jewell leave for the Carolina Panthers. They finally traded wide receiver Jerry Jeudy going to the Cleveland Browns, and they lost starting center Lloyd Cushenberry to the Tennessee Titans. In free agency, the Broncos added some affordable veterans like Brandon Jones at safety, Cody Barton at linebacker. They also signed defensive end Malcolm Roach and signed former Giants tackle Matt Pert. The team also signed Josh Reynolds from the Detroit Lions to bolster the receiver group. He got 40 passes for 608 yards and 5 touchdowns. And they also bolstered, well, I use that word lightly, their quarterback unit in a couple of ways. The first was by trading for Zach Wilson, a former number 2 overall pick from the Jets. In the draft, they made another move at the quarterback using the number 12 overall pick on former Oregon quarterback Bo Nix. Nix played the last 2 seasons at Oregon after starting his career at Auburn. He threw for 8,101 yards and 74 touchdowns in his time at Oregon, completing nearly 75% of his passes. He figures to be in the mix for the Broncos. They also grabbed his former Oregon teammate Troy Franklin in the 4th round and snagged Notre Dame running back Audric Estime in the 5th round. When we look at fantasy prospects, it begins with quarterback competition, and it is an open competition. The Broncos still have Jarrett Stidham, who started the final 2 games of 2023. He's listed as the current starter on the depth chart, but Stidham will compete in camp with Wilson and Nix. I think Nix will play at some point, but probably not week 1. I also think it's possible that all 3 play at some point in the season. In fact, I'm leaning toward that being likely. Nix is the QB I want in Dynasty, but for 2024, I don't think I would trust any of them to be a reliable starter. They're all, maybe one gets to be a low-end QB3, probably some QB4. I think Stidham starts off the season, ends up probably around QB 33, maybe QB 35. The other interesting situation to watch is surprisingly in the backfield. I was all in on Javonte Williams with the addition of Sean Payton. We didn't really see it last year. He still projects to me as the lead back, but they have veteran Samaje Perine. They have the rookie Estime. They have second-year man Jaleel McLaughlin all back with the squad. What does it mean for fantasy? Will all 4 be involved? The Broncos only kept 3 on the active roster last year, and it feels like that's probably what they're going to have to do because roster spots are at a premium, and they're probably keeping 3 quarterbacks. Williams and Estime felt like locks to me. I was leading toward Perine being the 3rd spot, but it's hard to leave McLaughlin off the roster. We'll see. For fantasy, I still like Williams, maybe a low-end running back 2, maybe a high-end running back 3. I'm getting a little more shaky. It's also possible that the Broncos will move Williams or one of these other backs to create some space. I think Estime is one that I want in Dynasty. Among receivers, the big question is whether Courtland Sutton would be moved. He wanted a new contract, but the Broncos sweetened his deal. Still, it's not a lock that he stays there at least all season. He's the only receiver I trust week to week for fantasy, and even then, I see him more as a wide receiver 4. Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims are good dynasty prospects. I suspect both will have some moments, but probably be frustrating week to week this year. I'm not really trusting veterans Tim Patrick or Josh Reynolds either. And you know what? I'm kind of staying away from tight end. The team has veteran Adam Troutman. They have a prospect they like in Lucas Kroll, and they still have Greg Dulcich, but Dulcich has not been able to stay healthy. I just don't think any of them is a good week to week play. The Broncos are my team. I've never made a secret about that, so I'm not exactly completely unbiased. However, I do not believe in this team. I think the Broncos are in the midst of a rebuild that will take more than a season. I was kind of surprised they decided to go get a potential franchise quarterback in this draft because I think this could be a real rough season. Peyton's saying all the right things about them being competitive. I just don't see it. I think the Broncos will probably be fun to watch maybe at times or interesting to watch at times, but I think it's really next off season when they project to have a lot more cap space and hopefully a high draft pick that they will be able to get the pieces in place to really begin the turnaround. I think this is going to be a rough season for all of us Broncos fans.